Judy, just let me know if you need anything before we start. Um,
Okay, yeah, just give me another minute. I see Sandy McKee and Mahid are here from Board 6 to do their presentation. Okay, let's just give it another minute and then you can do your thing, John. Okay, John, why don't you give your little talk?
Everyone, welcome. If this is your first time joining us virtually today, you will notice that you are all currently muted. You will stay muted throughout the meeting, except for the co-chairs and presenters as we move through the agenda. Following the presentations, as we move through the agenda, the co-chairs will call on members from the public to speak on any matters they wish to speak on. Um, you can participate by going to the react icon on your device and pressing the raise hand button. Do not wave or do a wave or thumbs up button as those will disappear. Only press it once. If you press the raise button twice, you will go back down. If you're calling on your phone, you can press *+9 to raise your hand and *+6 to unmute yourself. Be on the lookout for any prompt asking to unmute yourself once the co-chairs call on you. The chat is available for only technical support only. The co-chairs will not see the chat. If you are using an older version of Zoom, go to the Persons section and press the Raise Hand feature below. Please do not raise your actual hand or wave at the screen. We may not see you. Chat me for any technical support throughout the meeting.
Thank you, John. I'm Judy Schneider, co-chair of the Parks Committee, and Felice.
And I'm Felice Farber, the other co-chair of the Parks Committee.
Okay, we'll start tonight's meeting by making an announcement to everybody so they can look at our CB8M agenda for the night of March 26th will be the community meeting by Parks Department on the redoing of 24 Sycamores Park and what everybody wants to see at the park. If you look at the agenda, you will note that the flyer is attached, telling you about the meeting, but at the bottom of our notes is an email address, New York City, nyc.org/reg/community-input-meetings/16910/register. And if you want to attend the 24 Sycamores Park meeting, you must register before 5:30 on the 26th. After that time, it will be too late. So I ask you all to please pass the word around to friends so they attend the meeting. We would like to have as many members of the community there as possible. Okay, our first item that we're going to hear tonight is a presentation by our neighboring Community Board 6 on ways to re-image the FDR drive to prioritize waterfront access, increase open space, and improve environmental resiliency. I want to mention that this is a joint meeting with our Transportation Committee, and I know Craig is probably joining us by phone as he had another meeting. He's head of transportation. So now I want to welcome Sandy McKee, the board chair of 6, and Mahid, who will do the presentation. John, if you could please unmute them.
Great. Thank you very much for allowing us to do this presentation. I'm Sandy McKee, the chair of CB6, your southern neighbors. We have the unenviable position of having the lowest amount of open space per person in Manhattan. We're constantly looking for ways to improve our access to the open space that we do have. And our waterfront is our best natural feature, but like you, we have very restricted access to it. Our communities are divided from it by the FDR, and we must pass above or below through parking lots and narrow bridges. We undertook a study in 2023 to look at ways to reimagine the FDR and make our waterfront safe, accessible, and resilient. We realized that we're just one piece of the East River waterfront, one piece of a long coastline, and we're looking for support from our neighbors to reimagine the east side of Manhattan. Majed Abdul Samad is the chair of our Land Use and Waterfront Committee, and he's going to make this presentation with our ideas from the study, and we think it will benefit all of our east side communities. Majed?
Great. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, everybody, for having us here. Like mentioned, the FDR Reimagined study that you all can see on screen is an initiative by CB6 leadership to proactively address challenges in our district. This is shared with you, our neighbors to the north, to envision a future of the FDR that is safe, accessible, and resilient. The board commissioned 2 leading firms to execute the study, WXY, a multidisciplinary practice specializing in urban design, urban planning, and architecture, with focus on infrastructure planning, and Burr Happold to take a first stab at this. There are a lot of experts who took part of this. We convened a group of leading experts in the field, including advocates, key stakeholders, community board representatives, and others to discuss. And like mentioned, the vision here, and this is just a vision, this is not a comprehensive study, is to try to understand what can we do? What is a vision for a safe, accessible future of the structure and the waterfront looks like? I'll skip over this, but just so you're aware, this was it's like a 6 months to 8 months process. We haven't done any public outreach. This is, so you haven't missed anything. You're on time for the party. We are just reaching out. We've talked to some of our elected officials, spoke to folks in our community who are passionate about this topic as well. And while we have focused on just this segment you're seeing on screen, this is the CB6 from 14 to 60th, we understand that a lot of these concerns extend beyond the boundaries here. And we tried to think of scales. We considered various scales that the FDR operates in, from regional, tri-state. I mean, this is a really important connector to Jersey and Connecticut, through the city, our community district, and all the way down to the block level, where all of us experience the FDR and not have the most pleasant experiences at times. And as we're doing that, we're trying to think of what are the priorities. Yes, we want to have a environmentally resilient structure where we can mitigate the risk of flooding, air, and noise pollution. Anyone who lives near the FDR is well aware of that. But we also want to increase access to the waterfront for cyclists and pedestrians. We want to have safe multimodal infrastructure, and we want to maximize community amenities under the FDR or along the waterfront. Like Sandy mentioned, We have very limited amount of open space, and that's a little ironic because we're right along the water, and therefore there's a solution that's presenting itself there. In the study, we took a bit of a step back to look at the history. How did we get to where we are today? This is a picture from 1937, back when this was called the East River Drive. Really fascinating to see how this has evolved, and to remember that when this drive was first envisioned, it was supposed to be a tree-lined boulevard, and it was supposed to like ease congestion, and over time it became a limited access parkway, deteriorated until it got to where it is today, as you all know it. Over the history, there were these really important milestones that we've also looked at, from the planning to the evolution to the building and rebuilding of different segments. It was not, when FDR first came to existence, it was not meant to have these overpasses and underpasses. But the construction evolved again as the city densified, as really important landmarks popped up, like the UN, Karl Scholz Park. All of you, I bet, are very familiar with what that segment looks like. So we had these cantilevers and viaducts that allowed to connect different streets. And more recently, we had plans to activate some of these viaducts. We've done on their South Street, further south, our neighbors at CB3. There have been major rehabs, and there have been visions for knocking down the FDR in certain areas where it was feasible, like what Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine had put out very recently. When we think about challenges, there's a lot. We can all mention a lot, but we really want to focus on two key issues: mobility and congestion, the issue of moving along this corridor, the issue of safety there, and this is really not a safe corridor by any measure, and the environmental resiliency issue. On the right here, you see a photo of the FDR Drive after Hurricane Sandy. It was completely flooded and blocked for a number of days, impacting. You might think, oh, I don't drive on the FDR that often. That impacts access of emergency vehicles to you, an ambulance, your services that you receive. This is a very critical corridor, even if you don't use it on a daily basis. And with that in mind, we took stock of what studies and projects have been planned or are currently underway here. There's a lot. We focused a little bit on what happens in our district and further south, but obviously there's the East Midtown Greenway, the UN Esplanade that hopefully is going to come soon, East Side Coastal Resiliency, a project that's been going on for quite some time with a main focus on protecting the neighborhoods that are adjacent to the FDR. We have visions like the East River Blueway plan that extends a little further south to the Brooklyn Bridge, the Montgomery Coastal Resiliency. There's a lot. There's a lot of pretty images, and there's a lot of plans. Some of them have been funded and are underway being built. Some of them remain just that, plans and visions, but didn't go further. What we are thinking about and what the study put forth are three approaches that identify design opportunities without being site-specific so early in the process: overbuilt parks, boulevardization, and activation. For each, we looked at the benefits and impacts and identified some local and national precedents for highways with similar challenges. The goal here is to understand, New York is by no means the only city that have this problem. Many cities do. And let's look at what they've done about it. Some examples like overbuilt parks. Again, Karl Scholz Park is an example of what an overbuild is. Those are meant at top segments of the FDR, create elevated green spaces, fostering improved exposure and access to the waterfront. This example we pulled was from St. Louis, but there's plenty more that we can point to. This concept is boulevardization. This is something we have here in New York with West Side Highway turning West Street. That's the conversion of a highway into a boulevard by turning segments of it by adding wider sidewalks, landscape medians, bike lanes, reducing traffic speeds, and possibly even introducing public transit to improve movement along this corridor. And lastly, activation. This is the more immediate step, possibly the more cost aware intervention, where you're activating segments beneath FDR by enhancing lighting, adding community programming, arts installation, and safe pathways to the waterfront. We have examples in South Street, all the way south in Manhattan, but also the example here we're showing is from Toronto. Under the Bentway, there's this playground under the Gardner Express. There's a lot to see there. They've done actually really great work. And so I will just bring it back to say what we put together, what this study does, is really just the first step at a complex and multifaceted challenge. We're by no means claiming that we have a solution for this problem, but our goal here is to elevate the conversation about safe, environmentally sustainable future for all of our districts, starting with our most valuable asset, the waterfront. These concepts are, again, not location specific. They are opportunities that we would love to discuss. We would love to hear what you all think about it, whether you share our concern for these challenges and whether you have other ideas for how we should think about our waterfront. And so I will stop here and just say the full report is available on our website. We are happy to share with all of you. You can check it out. You'll see we've detailed a little bit more. This was just an executive summary, but I am really excited and curious to hear any thoughts or reactions or questions you might have for us.
Okay, John, maybe you can help me with this because I can't see who has their hands raised. But Craig has a meeting and I told him we would call on him first, since he's the co-chair of the Transportation Committee, to see what his comments are. I will say that Felice and I, having seen this before, thought that we might pass a resolution just supporting Board 6's resolution. So, John, can you unmute Craig?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right. My apologies. I accidentally hit stay on mute. Well, thank you, Judy, and thank you for the presentation. And I would concur with Judy that I would also be supportive of a resolution if we were to pass one tonight. I do think this is a very thoughtful and thought-provoking study that was done, and I really appreciate it because clearly we do face a lot of those same challenges here. And a subcontext of that is that we are about to embark on a study, or New York City DOT is about to embark on a study that our community board has long called for along York Avenue. And we will be talking about that study at an upcoming meeting of our transportation committee. But obviously in our community, York Avenue and the FDR Drive are entirely linked, and what happens on the FDR Drive has great effects on York Avenue and vice versa. And as we are all well aware, the FDR Drive is a really dangerous corridor, and there are a lot of crashes that occur, especially near all the entrances and exits. And I think that speaks to the urgency of thinking about this from a multifaceted approach, not only from the transportation perspective, but also what can we do to make it safer? What can we do to make the entire FDR Drive a much more integrated and meaningful and community benefit in our district than it is now as just a highway that creates a lot of challenges for us. So I do think there's a lot of opportunity here. I think it's going to be a long road, obviously, and I am curious. I have a few questions, I guess, from the standpoint of what Community Board 6 is looking to do. What are your next steps to move this forward? And then just before that, I was going to ask simply, how much did this study cost, and how was it funded? In case we were to try to pursue something that was a focus on our district. Because while obviously it would be the same concepts, it would be nice to be able to see them conceptualized for certain parts of the FDR Drive around here. And we have, I think, more areas that I think are inaccessible because of the development that's already along the waterfront, immediately adjacent to FDR Drive. And then the other question I had was, have there been any discussions whatsoever with New York City DOT or New York State DOT, because because the FDR Drive is a state-owned road, so anything that's going to happen will have to go through New York State in some way, shape, or form. And I obviously we're nowhere near anything in terms of a formal proposal, but just wondering if there's been any feedback from them in terms of the vision.
I'll wait on Sandy to unmute. I know she will take this up. Maybe actually, John, we need your help.
Mhm. There you go.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt Majed, so I muted myself. A lot of questions there, so I'll try
Yes.
and follow through. The study was done, actually, I think everyone who participated in it was excited to do it. So it was not a costly study, but it was $20,000. And we have funds, we call them the street fair funds, and we also get some funding from local council members to do this type of work. So we felt it was well worth the money.
Yeah.
We got
I-
more than I think what we paid for.
Yeah,
It's much more robust.
as someone who works as a professional planner and works with consultants, $20,000 is a bargain.
Well, as you may have noticed, Majed actually does work for WXY. We did, approach various firms, but his firm was very excited to do the work. Our next steps, we're continuing to talk to our elected officials. We're looking for grant monies. We realize that the political atmosphere is not very supportive currently for large transportation exercises, shall we say. But we're broaching this with our our state elected officials. Also, the FDR is actually very complicated because some of it's state DOT and some of it's city DOT. We understand that raised portions are the state, and if it's on grade, that's the city. That's what we've been told. So it's complex, but there also parts of the FDR are in desperate need of repair in our district, and we've been told it's 5 years out. I think that was 4 years ago. They told us it was 5 years out. So we realize that this is the time to start to think about these issues. There will have to be massive repairs done. And if we don't start this, this dialogue now, it won't happen.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And that's what I was sort of getting at as well. As we were about to start our York Avenue study, I'm thinking about how we may want to engage the FDR Drive as a discussion point as well, and it may have to be separate. When we had a stakeholder meeting, and New York City DOT's rep said that it is a state-owned road, and I know that it's interesting to hear that you say that portions of it are, portions of it aren't. So I'm gonna try to do some more research and find out. But I think it would be great to be able to further coordinate as well. And I'm excited at the prospects of what you're doing, and please keep us updated. Thank you.
We did think we should approach our neighbors first before we got too far along in the process, because we realized we're not an isolated part of the FDR.
And
Thank you.
I just want to confirm it is partially owned by the state and partially owned by the city. It's my understanding that where it's been rebuilt to federal standards, the state has taken over the ownership, but it's a bifurcated ownership along the length of it. So I just wanted to confirm, Craig, that is correct.
Oh, interesting. We could talk later about that, but thank you.
Sandy, can I ask a question? Your resolution was very comprehensive, and that was sent to the federal, the state, and the city government. Was that just to tell them what you were doing, or was that within hopes that you could start a dialogue and start asking them for money?
It was both.
Okay, okay, just wanted to know. Uh, there are some hands raised. I recognize Yasmina, but I don't know who else. John has their hands up. So John, I'll leave it to you to call on the various people.
First, Yasmina.
Hi, I just first want to say this is so exciting to see a study like this. And I have to say the overbuild by far is the most exciting thing to see. Carl Schurz is, as everyone knows here, absolutely beloved. It is the way it impacts quality of life is immeasurable. Tied into that is the 24 Sycamores Playground, which is due for or has been allocated $4.3 million. And I just have to state here publicly that I believe that we've lost sight of how these funds were attained, which it was through a community benefits agreement to improve the quality of life for residents impacted by a 598-foot tall MSK pavilion to be built on 66th Street and York Avenue. And so I just have to also say that the residents that are most directly impacted, those on 66th and 67th, were excluded from these negotiations. People are not happy. We will likely be starting a petition to ask to reconsider this. I've reached out to Julie Menon. I've reached out to the Parks Department. We are begging to have a pause, and we will state this again at a more appropriate time, but we are begging to have a pause to truly have a very serious and deeper conversation about the ways that $4.3 million could impact lives here with perhaps more of an overbuild idea rather than focusing on a playground that's below the FDR. And that ties into a question that I have for the study that was done. Is there a measurement of how these designs affect the air quality? I would imagine, and from what I've understood from the way car exhaust, depending on the temperature, the weather, whether it sinks or floats, I would imagine that the overbuild, especially on the river, is the healthiest alternative. And if so, would it I would strongly advocate for going that route for many reasons. I mean, it's just much more tranquil to be above traffic rather than next to it. Thank you for letting me speak and voice that.
Thank you.
Okay, John, could you call on the next speaker?
Next speaker I see is Sharon Pope Marshall, community board member.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Felice. I'd like to propose a resolution, and if seconded, I'd like to speak to it. I would like to propose that we support CB6's efforts to reimagine the FDR Drive as presented.
Okay, I second it. And if you will permit me, Sharon, I already wrote up something that's a little more specific.
Absolutely.
Therefore be it resolved, Manhattan Community Board 8 supports Manhattan Community Board 6's resolution supporting the FDR Reimagined report and endorses the visions and principles set forth to increase the amount of green and open space in Manhattan Community District 6. And we took that position because we are the Parks Committee. If this was being heard at the Transportation Committee, there might be a slightly different resolution. I don't know if Craig, if you want to add anything to this, be it resolved. Can we unmute Craig?
I'm unmuted. I don't know that there's anything that is necessary beyond what you have in there. I think that is perfectly fine for now, and we can always come back and talk about this further in our committee from a transportation perspective. But for now, I think that what you have is it definitely suffices as a good
Okay.
start.
Judy, why don't you why don't I second your resolution?
Okay, fine. Okay, I see Alita has
Okay.
it.
Well,
Her
I
hand-
wanted to speak to the
Go right ahead. I'm
resolution.
sorry.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Sandy and is it Machu? What is, I'm
Majid.
sorry, Majid?
Yes,
Okay,
Majid, you got it.
Majid, we're going to kidnap you. And
He's been amazing.
we're going to bring you north to Manhattan Community Board 8. And we're going to also ask that you bring WXY with you as well. Thank you, Sandy, for your leadership on this, and really appreciated the presentation, the thoughtfulness, the work that went into this, and I'm really over the moon because I know what can happen when people think out of the box, and the brilliance of ideas that can come out of this as you guys move forward, as we move forward with Community Board 8. And I'm not sure if you have on your radar as well Community Board 11. If you're interested in presenting there, I would recommend that as well. It's just phenomenal, and thank you both so much. And we'll be looking for your change in residency to Community Board 8, Masjid. And forgive me for if I pronounced your name incorrectly.
It's totally fine. Thank you so much for your comments.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, now I think Alita has her hand up. If we can unmute her. John?
Thank you, Judy, and thank you, CB6. This is very ambitious, and I applaud you for that. I think the idea of creating green space, particularly by the water, I mean, we forget we're an island, but we're so lucky to have water all around us. Beautiful, well, it's not even really a river, but a beautiful body or part of the water, and having green space where we're all lacking in green space would be wonderful. But and I know you alluded to it or referenced it, but I don't have any details about taking away parts of the FDR drive or turning some of it into bike lanes. And I would not be able to approve that because there are plenty of bike lanes and plenty of accessibility. And it seems I'm not a bike rider, but I am endangered by bike riders when I walk along or go over by the Esplanade or on any avenue for that matter. And even the reference to how ambulances need to be able to get by. So anything at this point that has to do with moving traffic and including anything, any kind of vehicle, including e-vehicles, I would have to be opposed to. But I do think it is so imaginative that the different uses and potential for access that I would support those, I think, without blinking.
And just to be clear, we're not asking to remove the FDR. We're asking for a different vision for it. One that allows people to get to the waterfront and utilize those spaces.
But does that include going over under the FDR drive or going on it for people? Because, and I know Mark Levine wants to tear it down below the Brooklyn Bridge or below the seaport or someplace, and someone supported Mark Levine's vision for it. And that's what I'm confused about. I looked quickly at the report and didn't see any reference to it. So my support would be for access and the ability to use the waterfront or create green space, but not anything related to actual transportation use of the FDR drive itself.
So just even on this slide, you see we have three options: over, across, and under, that, you know, activating, overbuilding, and boulevardization. So there are three distinct options that we've looked at. And there may be more appropriate in different parts of the waterfront.
Agreed. It's just, for me, it's there, and I understand it, and again, I applaud you for this. There's not enough detail on the references, and I know that you can't do it, and I frankly had this objection when they're reimagining Central Park Drive, or using the transverses for bike lanes, that without specifics is very, I just can't support something when there has been a lot of the city given up to bike lanes. And I don't want this to be about bikes, but I just want to be clear that I love the idea of more park space, more access to the waterfront, more use of the waterfront even. I know there have been some plans vaguely spoken about with beaches and boating opportunities, but anything relating to actual going on the FDR drive to go north or south, I just would have a problem agreeing blanketly to something I know nothing about at this point. Thank you very much for allowing me this time.
Well,
Thank you.
Alita, I will say this is only the beginning stages imaging. I mean, I don't think you're putting anything specific forward now. And what they want their object is to get the state and maybe the federal government and the city to look at this and help them plan for the future before the drive actually falls down around them. And we know what that's all about because that's happened to us in Board 8. So I think that's what our resolution is in support of, and I think that's what they're trying to do. I see Barry Schneider has his hand up, so can we call on him?
Good evening, all. Thank you very much for a sparkling presentation. I have a number of questions that'll come to light at a later date, but at this moment, I'd like to call the question.
Okay, so, oh, go ahead, Judy.
Yes, so is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Is there anyone not in favor of the resolution that I read, or wishes to abstain or not vote for cause? Please raise your hand. Okay, it seems to be a unanimous vote. John?
Alita has her hand up now.
Oh, okay. Alita, what is your vote?
I would vote to be in favor of it if it's clear that we're not voting about transportation on the FDR drive.
Let me read it again to you. Okay, this is the resolution.
Judy.
Therefore, be it resolved, Manhattan Community Board 8 supports Manhattan Community Board 6's resolution supporting the FDR re-imaged report and endorses the visions and principles set forth to increase the amount of green and open space in Manhattan's Community District 8.
Okay, since it's talking about green and open space, I'm okay with it.
Okay, so John, these are the people present: Brad, Robin, Alita, Judy, Felice, Barry, and Irma. Did I get everybody?
And
There are
did you get
10, sorry, there are
Robin?
10, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, there are 10 total committee members here right
I
now.
included up this
Yeah, there's Sharon, Sahar,
Aaron, right?
Robin,
I have
Bradley,
Robin.
Barry,
I have
Schneider, Judy, of course, Felice, Craig, and Alita. And
okay. So I was missing Sharon. Okay.
yeah.
And since we're Board 8, I don't think we list the Board 6 board members, do we?
No.
Alita, maybe you can answer your former chair.
No,
We
I don't think
list
so.
the
I think,
Board 6
no,
members,
it's just for CBA board
Yeah,
members.
okay, all right. All
But
right.
but it is nice to acknowledge that there were members from CB6 who were here and participating. I think
Yes.
that shows I think it sends a good message of boards being willing to work together, which to me was and is a big deal. So
Right,
thanks.
and we certainly will mention that in our minutes. So thank you, Sandy and Mahid, for coming tonight and doing this presentation. We appreciate it. And Mahid, I have no doubt that Craig will probably be reaching out to you in the future as our transportation chair.
Happy to chat. Thank you for having us.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
Craig, you can go on. Craig has a religious event tonight, so you can go on. The rest of, we'll conduct the rest of our meeting without you.
All right. Thank you
Yay.
so much.
A huge thank you. We really appreciate the support. It's wonderful. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Felice,
you.
You want to take over?
I'm sure. And I noticed that Bradley's here, and I don't think we had
Yeah, I
Brad.
had Brad's name.
Okay. All right. So the next item is a presentation of the Park Avenue Mall artwork by Alma Allen. And John, if you could show the artwork. And this is a proposal for 10 Alma Allen sculptures that will be exhibited between April and October of this year and from 52nd to 70th Streets along Park Avenue. The exhibition proposal includes 10 new freestanding sculptures that are in bronze and marble by the American artist Alma Allen. They embody the artist's purposeful surrender to the creative instinct, a universal space where intuition and logic dissolve into one another. She says, I am interested in the spiritual work of sculptors, of communicating without language, the effort to communicate sometimes across time or understanding with something that is incapable of returning speech. And I don't know if there are other examples of the images to show. Challenging notions of prescribed meaning in favor of interconnectivity. The tilting of Allen's works reflects the artist's interest in psychological states of flow, while involving the large-scale embodiment of weight, gravity, and permanence. Each of Allen's formal investigations possess a sense of becoming, where the momentary spark of creation remains palpable. Allen's work is included in the permanent collections of the Los Angeles County Museum of Art and the Palm Springs Art Museum in California, and his first monograph was published by Rizzoli Electa in 2020. The artist participated in the 2014 Whitney Biennial, where he gained recognition as a wider discovery of his work. And in 2018, the Palm Springs Art Museum in California opened the two-person exhibition in conversation, Alma Allen and J.B. Blunk, which traveled to the Nevada Museum of Art in 2019. In 2021, Casman staged an exhibition of Allen's sculpture, encompassing both an indoor exhibition space and the Casman Sculpture Garden on the gallery's rooftop in New York. In 2022, Allen's work was installed in the iconic Central Plaza at Rockefeller Center in New York. And I think if we scrolled through the pictures, that was what would be presented along the Esplanade. Alita, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I just want to say, we should have acknowledged when we started, this item is a joint item with the Arts Committee, and Alita is co-chair of that committee. So I'm sorry we didn't acknowledge you sooner, Alita.
Yes, thank you for the correction, Judy.
Thank you, Judy and Felice. This is the relevant part. So, so welcome, and I'm excited to see more public art. That's certainly the mission of the Arts Committee. But I have a question. Will there be any signage about this? Because what you've read, I mean, it could be edited or shortened, summarized, but it gives a point of view about it and may help the viewers understand the purpose or the artist's vision, which I like to read those things in museums, for instance. But I think these are exciting, and it's varied, the one on 67th and the one on 70th Street. So,
but I don't have an answer to your question as to what kind of plaques or information they'll be with these.
Okay.
Judy, do you know?
Yeah, we'll find that out and we'll get back to you, Alita. We'll call them tomorrow. I just want to tell everyone the Parks Department has an art department, and they used to come to us to make these presentations. But the parks budget has been cut back, and the arts people can no longer, it's considered overtime, so they can no longer come to community board meetings. So that's why they're giving us the write-ups to read and present to the community. And we might not have all the specific information everybody wants, but if anyone else has any other questions besides Alita, we'll get the answers to them this week.
I want to add something, if you don't mind, Judy and Felice. There have been studies that have shown that when there's public art, the viewers of public art are more likely to become civically engaged, that there's a connection between public art and civic engagement, which as members of the community board, we should be enthusiastic about. So public art is really important. And I went to a presentation at the Museum of the City of New York with the MTA and the 42nd, the Times Square Alliance, which is their bid, and an artist who participates. And New York is lucky to have these kinds of public artwork displays. So I am all in favor of supporting them when and where they pop up, temporary or permanent.
Thank you,
Okay.
Alita.
Is that a resolution?
I'll make a resolution, but I can't because I just spoke. Well, okay,
Well, now I'm talking, so
Okay.
I turn it over to you.
Okay, yes, I'd like to propose a resolution that we support these artworks and planned exhibition as presented.
I see Sahar seconds that. Is anyone voting no? Okay, so all in favor, and that is Felice, Alita, Judy, Barry, Brad, Robin, Sahar, and Sharon Pope Marshall. Okay, thank you.
And is Irma still here? Craig, I know is gone, but is Irma still here?
I don't see Irma on the list.
Okay, she was here for the first one.
She's not here now, though.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
All right, so now we're moving on to the report by Robert McLean, the New York City Parks Regional Manager. If we can unmute Robert.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah. I think Sheena Kaufman, if she's on the line, I'd like for her to go first. We only have 4 talking points here, and if she's not here, I'll say it. But if she's on the line, I'd prefer her to say what she has, and I'll pick up the rest. I believe she's on the line.
Sheena is on.
I'm
Yeah.
on.
Okay, Sheena, you hit it.
Good evening, everyone. I was going to speak about the 24 Sycamore, and I'll just give a brief synopsis. We did post the flyers around the playground, and we're going to post them at a few of the other playgrounds within the District 8 area, so we can get people input so that people can join. So we're just going to extend it a little further because we really want to get people's input on this beautiful new design for 24 Sycamore. So I got a question earlier about Carl Schultz about the pickleball area. So we are going to begin doing it. We just don't have an exact date. Once I get the exact date, I'll send you an email, Judy and Felice, Miss Judy and Miss Felice, because Steve just couldn't pinpoint it down as of yet. So, but we are still in favor of doing it. So I don't want people to think we're not. I just don't have an exact date for you. I also the St. Catherine's Playground. So far, there's no update on when renovations are going to start. But it probably be sometime next year. I was discussing it with Steve, and more likely we're looking at maybe late spring or early fall of next year for St. Catherine's playground.
Is that to bid it out or to start construction?
Probably to start. We are working they're working their way through now, Steve says. He just couldn't give me the exact information as of now because he didn't have it, but we're looking at sometime next year. That's what he
And,
said to me.
and has the procurement been bid yet for the reconstruction?
No, as of yet, no. So
Okay.
we're looking towards that. That's how he's looking forward. He couldn't give me exact day, but he said we are looking next year. That's what he said.
Sheena,
So
if I could just say, I also spoke to Steve today because the thing that was holding this, I'm sorry, go ahead. My comment will apply later. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
okay, so I also spoke with him about rubric.
That's
You
what.
know, a little bit of good, just a slight little bit of good news. He said DEP is requiring that we install a separate sanitation sewer line for the spray shower out of 90th Street. So we have revised the plan. This is the last remaining issue. We expect to resubmit the stormwater pollution prevention plan by the end of May, and it should then be approved by August or September. The project will then enter procurement phase when it will go out for bid. So that's a good, we're moving forward. It's looking good. It's looking better than we didn't have anything for rubric. So it's looking positive. As soon as I find out something, I promise you I'll be on the first line to to send y'all the message. But so and then some other things were brought up about the the bird lady at Carl Schultz. We haven't seen her. My staff has been coming in at 6 o'clock. And so far we have not encountered her. We expect that this probably is going to start back up because the weather's going to get warm in a few weeks, and we'll be there to address the issue as good as possible, right? So far she hasn't been around, and I'm assuming because of the weather. So once the weather gets a little warmer, she might be back out. So I've already scheduled two staff members to be on duty, and that's all I have.
Thank you. If I could, I just want to clarify one issue and then we'll call on Yasmina. So you said DEP was requiring you to install a separate sanitary line. Is that
Yeah,
it?
a sewer line for the spray shower.
Okay.
Thi-
And and you
This is
said the
the
SWIP would be the end of May, and expect approval by August or September?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the result of the SWIP meetings that they had this week or last week. So finally, the SWIP is done. Now they just have to write it all up and get approval of the documents. Okay, I think we have to go back to Robert now.
As Yasmina has her hand up before I
No.
go to Robert.
Yeah, I just have a question to do with renovations of multiple children's parks. Is there deliberate scheduling so that they don't overlap? Because to imagine St. Catherine's Park and 24 Sycamores Park being renovated at the same time would be very, very difficult for families with toddlers in particular who cannot go long distances for outdoor play, and those are the only parks available for them.
So it we are hoping that that doesn't happen. Usually we don't usually have two in the same district at the same time, but both parks are in really, really dire need of repair. And sometimes we have to move when we have the funding to do it in no delays. I and I know it could be, a little bit challenging, but I don't think they're going to be overlapping. I don't think so. I think the good thing with St. Catherine's is just the playground. So the field and the basketball court and the handball court is not a part of it. So they'll still have that part, I'm sorry, not St. Catherine. My apology. The the playground desperately needs it for St. Catherine's. There are a lot of issues in St. Catherine. 24 Sycamore is a long time coming. With some parts of 24 Sycamore is not ADA accessible, and we really need to bring it up to speed. Um, we're just starting 24 Sycamore. St. Catherine's has already been in the works. So St. Catherine's more likely will go first, then probably coming out of the tail end will be 24 Sycamore. So that's that's pretty much how it probably is gonna go. So we usually don't do two at the same time, but it's very, it's kind of very rare.
Sorry, just it has to be said. It's because two extremely tall buildings were rezoned, and those are both being financed through community benefits agreements. So it really needs to be understood that the community to begin with is bearing an incredible burden, and then simultaneously, and then to have their benefit be in the form of renovating two small children playgrounds. I think a lot more thought.
Yasmina, let me just say that St. Catherine's is going to start in 26, whether it's the spring or the fall. Okay. We are just having the first meeting on 24 Sycamores. There's no way they're going to be overlapping. And at St. Catherine's, they will either start with the children's area or they will start with the ball field. They will not do both at the same time. So one will be open. And I imagine, Sheena, that when they start 24 Sycamores, and we can bring this up at the meeting on the 26th, that they will do either the upper level or the lower level, and that both will also not be done at the same time, so that there will still be some space available.
We probably, so we probably can see if we can work that in. I'm not quite sure. I can bring that up to Steve. I'm not really quite sure. But 24 Sycamore is about probably 2.5 years out. St. Catherine is gonna start next year. So they will not overlap.
Okay, Robert?
Judy, Bradley also has his hand up.
Go ahead, Brad.
Hey, thank you. I just want to say two quick things. One, thank you so much for your hard work on our behalf on everything with the parks, particularly Carl Schurz Park. And two, um, you mentioned that things are going to happen in the park in the spring, which is great. Just the date won't be set yet. But will that include um, like fixing of the cracks and paint and some of that stuff that's on the courts right now? I was just wondering if that could be included because some of the paint is chipped and some of the stuff is cracked. So I was just wondering if that could be part of what happens in a few weeks or months.
You're talking about for Carl Schurz? That's the idea. Yeah. The renovation is for the courts. The
Oh,
renovation
great.
is for
Thank
the
you.
courts. Yes.
Cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I see, before we move on, I see Mary Chan has her hand up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I went to John Jay Park today and I was wondering, are we getting replacements for the garbage cans to prevent more rodents to be Happy Meal every night?
Replacements of the garbage cans?
Yes,
Um,
because they're open. And I went to jury duty on Monday and Tuesday and I noticed all the garbage cans are closed. You have to pull it open in order to put your garbage in. And I was wondering if there was any possibility that they might have something like that for John Jay Park.
um, at this present time, no, there's no funding in place for that. At this present time, right? And not to say it can't happen in the future, but at this present time, there's no funding in place for that.
But on the other hand, are they putting a hold on rodent control?
No,
Because we have
no.
lots of little kids there.
So what do we have done? We've added two enclosures at the beginning of the park where the garbage shouldn't be sitting on the floor. The garbage should be inside out the storage the rubber storage containers. Um that's what we're doing at all the parks now. We have covers for them now, but at this present time we just don't have the funding to buy enclosed garbage cans for John Jay or any other site at this present time.
Well, that could
Oh,
be
okay.
future budget request.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another
Thank you for
question.
bringing that out. Go ahead.
I know Carl Shores Park is much prettier than John Jay because they have a lot of shrubbery, better trees and flowers. Is there any chance that John Jay could have flower beds or shrubbery that will survive?
Well, we
Because the
did
ones
we
that they place, they're not there because they're
yeah,
dying.
because some they were actually ripped out in that area that you're speaking of. We could look into see Rob is on the line. Me and him can look at it and see if we can put something there. But a lot of the dog owners, you know, they they didn't like it for their dogs. And one day it was there, and the next day it was gone. And we had just installed the nice greenery over there in that area. It was really beautiful.
So
Um,
I know I've seen it in the beginning, but
yeah,
are the dog
they took it
owners
out.
removing them?
They're taking them out because it's irritating. It was irritating to their dogs. So we don't have a
Are they
dog
able
run
to
at
be fenced
John
in?
Jay, and I guess it bothered some dog owners.
Well,
Um,
how about um
but
maybe
we
they
can
could be
always
fenced
look.
in?
We can always try to look again, but it cost us a lot of money when they did that.
Well, the dog owner should be respectful also.
Yeah,
Because,
we
it's
hope.
Responsible.
great for the kids, the children, when, they see flowers and plants, they get inquisitive and it's much more pleasant.
Yeah, but it. I agree with you. It's just that we just don't have enough, park enforcement to just to stand by and not have the dog owners go inside the beds and do the things that they shouldn't be doing. It's a lot of dog owners inside John Jay, and it's
Yes,
very difficult at times to even keep them on a leash. So
yes, I know.
it's a really big problem.
Well, maybe it's just the best to be fenced in, and put up signs and says,
We we
uh,
had we had signs, they ripped them out.
oh,
We did, so we wound up just wood chipping the area because we just couldn't afford to put any plant material back there. Literally, they ripped every piece of it out.
oh my gosh.
So it's very
I,
costly.
I
It's not
know.
cheap. It's not
And the
cheap to
effort
do
you
that.
put into it too.
Yeah, a lot of hard work.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Sheena. How do we know it was the dog owners that ripped it out?
We were told that because one day we was there, we did it one day, and within 2 days they were all gone. So we wound up putting wood chips there because we can't leave it bare. So it was like, and it was just told to me it was irritating the dogs. So it's really nothing, we couldn't stand by and watch. We don't have cameras inside the park. But we had literally just opened that space back up, and it was beautiful. It was really nice. And it was at times we didn't have decorated fence. And once you start putting range fence up, it just start bending and they leaning and the dogs are jumping over. It just take away from the decorum of the area. Right. But we should have some greenery there, but it was really, really costly when they did it.
Thank you, Sheena, for that update.
You're welcome.
Robert?
Yeah, hi, can you hear?
Yes.
Okay, I have several things to say. At Carl Schurz Park, the bird feeder, in response to the issue of the unknown person feeding the pigeons, has been proactively and requesting assistance from our park enforcement patrol. They will try once and again to catch this individual in the act by assigning a team in the early morning. As a prevention tactic, I will schedule 2 staff members to come in at 6 a.m. for a few weeks to clean up immediately after this bird food is spread around the promenade. I'm ensuring you that we are trying to address this community concern. Anything new on this? Our staff members are still coming in oh, I see. These are questions at 6 a.m. Sheena could probably answer that. I don't know about that. But a lot of a lot of the PEP officers start at 10 a.m. Where they arrive at 10 and then they go, and then they get changed. So we've tried in the past to get them early, but for the most part, they start late, around 11, and they stay till 6. I have some information for you on Samuel Seabury Playground, the scaffolding removal as of February 14th. The scaffolding from the adjacent building has not been removed inside the playground. I am actively working with the Parks Interagency Division to address this matter. Your understanding in this ongoing process is greatly appreciated. This is from Sheena. And then I have something to tell you about the Esplanade in response to the pile repair. The demolition and the cleanup of the existing piles is ongoing. The pile jackets and epoxy is ongoing. So far, they have completed 102 out of the 383 piles that have been completed as of this week. We have about 111 completed piles as of the 11th of this month, and then there's more piles in the works. And then MSI continues to review the cleanup and the cleaned and the completed piles, and MSI continues to be on site, and they come twice a week. And so that's all I have for this week. Yeah.
Robert, the piles, are those the work you're referring to under Andrew Haswell Green?
I don't know precisely where I have here. I've got this map here. Yeah.
That would be down around 61st Street.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's just there. I just got this map and I haven't quite figured it out. I need a magnifying glass to figure out what it says.
Okay.
It just has the piles, the number of piles. It doesn't say precisely where they are.
Okay. Well, maybe
they had.
next.
I did see the divers. They have 4 divers, and then there's 4 people, tenders per diver. The last time I was there, they have this. It looks like about 100-foot barge. So I would imagine the divers are there. Yeah. But the last time I was at the Esplanade was a week and a half ago, and they were still there.
Okay. Yeah, well,
So you're probably correct. They're probably in this vicinity. Yeah.
Yeah, they said it was going to take some time. I'd just like to acknowledge that our chair, Valerie Mason, has joined us. Valerie, you weren't here for any of the votes on the resolutions, were you? No. Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay, anything else, Robert?
No, that's all I have for you today.
Okay, I don't see
Thank you.
any hands up. Is there any new business or old business?
I'd just like to remind everybody, in case there are some people on that weren't on in the beginning, that on Wednesday, March 26th is going to be 24 Sycamores Park, and you can go to our website and it tells you at our website on March 26th how to sign up. You must sign up in advance by 5:30 in order to attend the Zoom meeting that starts at 6:30.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Sahar, okay, great. Seconded by Barbara. All right, thank you very much. Have a great evening, and we will
John, could you stay on a minute?